Oh shit, that game's free. That's a game I really don't need to add to my library, to be completely honest. It's this dating sim with dads. Anyway, let's make sure everything's set up. Link the proper. Yeah, it's the link I put inside my goddamn Discord. Whatever. Anyways, let's go on. So the reason I'm doing this video, specifically this stream, is just so I can have Twitch record something for me because I want to rant for a bit. I'm a little bit upset with uh how gaming media is recovering The Last of Us 2. So backstory, I used to go to IGN.com religiously. Like I trusted their word on so much shit. And then there was a point, I can't remember exactly what started making me skeptical, but there was a point where I'm just like, I don't think these guys know how to play video games. And if they do know how to play video games, their ranking system sometimes doesn't make sense. And it's definitely not consistent, which is understandable because IGN is a company, different people rate games differently. Why they all have the same stamp from different criteria, not sure, because everyone's going to look at this shit differently and experience different shit. Like, I think one of the things that started making me realize going to IGN might not be a good idea is there was this one guy who used to recover Nintendo games a lot. I can't remember his name, but it was very, very Hispanic last name. But he would cover Nintendo games a lot, and he would always gush about them. Can't recall ever seeing him, speak negatively about a Nintendo game. Same with this other dude who left IGN, but before he had left, he was kind of snooty. He was an ass. I'll just put it out there. He was an ass, but he was on that Sony dick hardcore. So nothing from Sony that ever went his direction got a bad score. At least that I can recall. Whereas everything else kind of got a bad score. That and certain big games just seemed to immune to criticism. So IGN lost my attention because they couldn't be honest. Um, Out of curiosity, I check back with them every once in a while to see what they have to say about things. Last time I looked at a video of theirs was for freaking Red Dead Redemption 2. I haven't seen it since the game came out, but I think they gave Red Dead Redemption 2 a 10 out of 10. Um, I wouldn't agree with that score. I actually do not like the game. But this isn't about Red Dead Redemption 2. This is about IGN and their score for The Last of Us 2. So again, I bought The Last of Us 2 day one because I was a fan of the first one and was hoping for, a little bit more. Wasn't looking forward to seeing Ellie and Joel's story because at the end of the first one, I'm just like, cool, their story's done. If we go back into this world, it'd be nice to see more of the world through the perspective of someone else. Um, they brought Joel and Ellie back. Really, 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 really not sure why. Because they brought him back seemingly in name only. Like I don't recognize these characters at all. But let's not dilly dally any further. Let's go ahead and pick apart why IGN's video bugged me. Mind you, I saw this before I actually got the game. Spoiler alert, they gave it 10 out of 10 also. But what was even more of a surprise is in the 8 minutes of this video, they didn't really say anything negative about the game. They kind of just brushed over everything. But my memory's a little bit fuzzy, so let's go ahead and start this. We're going to also play it a little bit slightly faster just to avoid any YouTube automation.
The Last of Us is one of the rare beloved games of the past decade that.
So let's. I'm not doing any background research on this guy. I'm not one of those weird people that do that shit. But let's see what Jonathan has to say. Mr. Bush has to say about this game.
Not only didn't demand a sequel, but actively seemed to resist the idea of one. It's
Okay, so there we go. That's what I was thinking too. Like, game ended very succinctly, ended very much like a Cohen movie where we're just like, shit, there's still a lot of ugly in this world. It's like, well, that's not our job. And Joel's part of the ugly.
story is poignant enough because of how self-contained it is. But with The Last of Us Part 2, developer Naughty Dog rises to the challenge with not only a complex and brutally emotional story that gives it a reason to exist, but also deep and satisfying evolutions to the original's third-person action stealth gameplay.
Okay, so let's pick that apart real quick. Mind you, by the way, spoilers. Hail, hey Alex, what's good? So mind you, this is definitely, you know what, let me put this in the description because I'm spoiling the fuck out of anyone who has not played this game. So again, I'm gonna say it out loud for the heavens to hear. Last of Us 2 spoilers coming up in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so Homeboy just said that this story had a reason to exist. No, it did not. You could have swapped out any of the characters for anyone else, given them a slight backstory as they did in this game, and proceeded forward with it. Because Ellie in this game isn't the Ellie that we know from the first one. She's changed. Joel in this game isn't the Joel that we know. He's changed. Only time that it even remotely the same people is when, fittingly enough, during the flashbacks, which, again, got to give the writers props. I thought the flashbacks were well written, and I missed the banter between Joel and Ellie because they have a really good back and forth. That kept the first one interesting. First one did not have a great story. It was very story minimalist. What I loved about the first one were the characters, and this one seemed to just not really care about them. One thing, this is gonna sound stupid as shit. One thing I do kind of appreciate the game for doing, and this is stupid as fuck, is titty. This is, again, context. In America, for some reason, we are more okay with seeing violence than we are with seeing nudity or anything sexual. So it was always weird to me in the first one, and this is just me overthinking shit that I shouldn't be overthinking, but I'm gonna do it anyway, goddammit. But in the first one, I would think like, yo, how are these people still got their clothing on after like 20 years of deterioration? Like, I throw that shit in the dryer and that shit deteriorates mad long quickly. You would think over time, shit like this would happen to clothes. Like, it would just naturally. Not that I want to see any zombie titties, I don't. But if you're into that sort of thing, I don't shame, I don't judge. But I'm not interested in seeing zombie titties. What I'm interested in seeing, is real world materials act like you would expect them to act in the real world. Because again, games obviously fantasy, but it does depend on our reliance of real world things to kind of bridge the gap in between there. So if like everything works, but then you got like clothing made out of Kevlar that never deteriorates, it's kind of like, what the fuck is up with this? So I do appreciate them for adding that small thing into the game. I'm gonna call that a neat pick because I like that, like little things like that. But on the other end, when I dig into something that's negative and you think I'm making a big deal about it and you say I'm nitpicking, you're absolutely right. Don't care. But yeah, long story short, zombie titties for the win. Like, look how good that clothes deterioration looks.
Right off the bat, I promise there will be no Part 2 spoilers in this review other than what Sony has already
I don't.
shown in trailers and gameplay. Part 2 starts out seemingly simple, taking place about 4 years after the end of The Last of Us and setting an older, angrier, but still immune Ellie on a quest for revenge that hones in on the cycles of violence that can plague humanity.
Oh, so older, angrier, still immune Ellie. Again, they're calling her Ellie. In the beginning of the story, you can see remnants of Ellie, the little sarcastic, bad joke loving girl that we like from the first one that was still curious about the world. This Ellie is a lot less curious. She's been out of the QZ for a while. She knows how the world works. She's grown. So she ain't no kid anymore. She got the tats to show it and all that shit.
But still immune Ellie on a quest for revenge.
Also, her immunity doesn't really play into the story too much. There's one part where it's like, okay, she tried telling you this earlier, but you ignored her. Then there's another part in the end where it's like, oh shit, you're immune, nobody fucking cares.
That hones in on the cycles of violence that can plague humanity as much as any infection. As it grows into something further reaching and ambitious, it knowingly leans into and often subverts the tropes of the genre.
Okay, so see, there's some bullshit right there. Subversion is appreciated when it pays off. All these subversions, again, you're gonna hear the fucking Last Jedi a lot with this too, because the Last Jedi, Rian Johnson, he wrote the fucking script for the sake of subverting expectations, and it's awesome when you can do that. But don't just write your whole story for the sake of subverting expectations. That shit gets boring after a while. Then you're just like, okay, what the fuck am I even caring for?
Just guilt by association and the inevitable escalation of matching an eye for an eye.
Oh,
Games are often defined by giving us the power to choose what happens, but The Last of Us and Part 2 concern themselves more with a specific depiction of its characters. We're asked to...
Why would he say that? Like, what would... Okay, that's a weird thing to put into this, because neither this game nor The Last of Us 1 gave us any choice. But weird thing to bring up.
take them as they are, and that leads to some of the most fully realized characters in gaming who I always empathized with, even if I didn't always agree with them. It delivers experiences that are incredibly memorable for how uncomfortable and challenging it is to be forced to act them out yourself.
I think there's some truthiness to that. Think I have a very, very strongly held belief that most people who think they're good only think so. They don't know that they're good because they haven't been put into a situation where they have to be good. Nobody ever thinks they'll. Fucking 9/11 changed me, man. Nobody ever thinks they'll leave an older lady to run for herself from the collapse of a burning building. But when it's you or her, you'll make that decision real quick. Then you gotta, look in the mirror and be like, "Yo, am I a good person?" But that's neither here nor there. Funny you brought up Ryan Johnson. The chick she tabbed a few seconds ago looked like Flynn's love interest in episode N8. I don't even remember. Oh, Flynn's love interest. Got you. Shrek. Certain circles like to call her Shrek. I can't remember what her name is, but yeah, Shrek. We don't save people by killing them. Fucking idiot. But yeah, that God. Let me move away from The Last Jedi. That's another rant.
Actors Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson return to add so much heart, honesty, joy, and sadness to the roles as Joel and Ellie, respectively. Ellie is the
True.
protagonist of Part 2, and the focus on her allows for so many funny, frustrating, vulnerable, endearing, and frightening
Not a lot of funny. Let's chill with that.
moments. It all stays true to what the original game established while deepening my understanding of her. Baker is no
No, 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 no. It does not stay true to Ellie. Like seeing her change, you kind of here's the thing, and you're gonna see this a lot. Again, same shit happened with the last Jedi. When characters change this much after a disappearance, what ends up happening is that the fans end up doing a lot of the work for the artist. There's this is weird because again, I'm trying to like come up with rules for art, and I don't think that should be a thing. I think we should all explore this shit naturally, but there's a fine line between, to me anyways, between letting your audience use their imagination to fill in the blanks and then just like letting them write the whole fucking story for you. I think The Last Jedi made us write the whole entire story for Luke Skywalker, for what happened between you know episode, holy hell, Keon, you're old, episode 6 to episode 8. They showed us hints, but it's just like, yo, your entire character changed. Like, are you still Luke? And same thing happened here. This person, we could use our imagination to figure out why Ellie, and for that sake, why Joel are the way they are in the beginning of this game. But they put a lot of work on us, and I don't think that's cool. Yeah, I think, but again, it's a fine line because it's going to sound like I'm conflicting with that statement later, but just hang in with me.
less fantastic as Joel, even though Part 2 is more focused on Ellie. He sells the weariness of a man who has taken so many lives to save his own and the lives of those he cares about, and made questionable moral decisions out of love.
You think I'd let you do this on your own?
There's also a great cast of supporting characters introduced, like Shannon Woodward's instantly charming.
I like her. Her character was cool until she wasn't. She kind of they made a great character and then they didn't know what to do with her, and it's a damn shame because Dina deserves better.
Dina. I would be remiss if I didn't mention, though, in the most spoiler-free of terms, the incredible performance by Laura Bailey. Like so many of the
So Laura Bailey's performance as Abby, spoiler alert, of course, you play as her for a good chunk of the game. Motion capture or animations throughout this game are significantly improved, but like what ends up sucking about her performance and all their performances really is that they're made to do actions that I can't empathize. Maybe, Jonathan, the guy reviewing, can empathize, but they do so much whiplashy decision making that it's just like, you're good? Like, I can't. I just can't.
The Last of Us' characters, calling this new character purely good or evil would be reductive. Her motivations are just as legitimate and arguably noble as Joel's or Ellie's. Most of these actions revolve around the larger conflicts between the warring groups in Seattle, where much of Part 2 takes place.
Her actions aren't noble, homie. Like, it's not noble. I don't know. I do think given the state of the world, fucking zombie apocalypse and all that good shit, I do think Joel got what he deserved. I'm probably in the minority of that, but Joel was not always a decent man. So chances are he'd ruffle a few feathers over his ears and someone would come back and fuck him up. He would do it to other people, so Can't really give him a pass just because I like him. And I will miss him. Like, God fucking damn it. They didn't have to do that to him.
Many characters you'll encounter here are one of the major ways in which Naughty Dog avoids the fatigue that set in for many with Uncharted 4's last act. Even though it's about 25 hours.
This man just said that they avoided fatigue. Oh my god, did he play this game? Did he play this effing game? Yeah, no. So many people have been fatigued, both emotionally and gameplay wise, by this game. Emotionally, I wasn't fatigued, but gameplay wise, holy fuck. But again, I've heard other reviewers saying that just the non-stop nihilism was a bit exhausting.
Hours long, part 2 never drags because there's always new voices to hear.
Liar.
The way stealth, action, and puzzle sequences play out remains very familiar. That said,
Why
part
did
2
you
has
throw a
taken
brick?
major steps to add variety to avoid the repetition of the first game. And yeah, some of this sorta seems obvious in hindsight. Like, it's silly to think that adding a jump button in 2020 could feel fresh, but Ellie's athleticism most definitely proves to be key to keeping part 2's combat encounters interesting.
I can't remember if this part pissed me off the most, but this part pisses me off really badly. Ellie doesn't need a jump button. The jump button doesn't do anything outside of the context. It could have easily been a contextual press. Calling it like an exclusive jump button, like it changes the way the game plays, is just really just fucking honest. Like, it's there, don't get me wrong, it's still a jump button, but you're not like, the game hasn't switched to Mario. You still got to be next to things in order for them to do stuff. If you press the jump button and you're not next to something that has context, you just hop. It has no utility outside of the contextual actions that you need to use it for. It's weird.
And surprising over time. Whether you're going in loud or quiet, the scope of these battlefields is great. They take place in areas like multi-tiered shopping malls or fragmented skyscrapers that offer what feels like naturally complex puzzle boxes.
I could agree with that. I think the level design has a more natural take on it. Definitely some more verticality. Not a lot, but definitely more verticality. And levels do look like they would actually happen. You know, things are still blocked off. Like, they're still video game levels, don't get me wrong, but they seem more natural. Only grievance I do have is, like, a lot of times where you have to go in the end of certain battle arenas, battle segments, it's not immediately evident. So a large chunk of time is spent wondering, should you look for an entrance or should you just kill everyone? Depending on my mood, I would go for killing people, but if killing people just took way too effing long and I felt like I wasn't getting anywhere, I would do a few suicide runs looking for an exit and then figure out how to get there from there. On the other flip side, you know, they seem to have a dynamic checkpoint system in this game, which is pretty generous. It was pretty generous for me. I remember playing on grounded mode in The Last of Us 1. Those checkpoints were fucking fierce. But this one seems to be a lot more lenient. Ellie confirmed for Smash with new jump feature. Yeah, right. That would be funny. Or at least a boomer. I'd like to see a boomer in Smash. Not a boomer, a bloater.
There's always plenty of room to sneak around and pick off enemies one by one, or, as usually happened to me, plan to be stealthy but get caught and scramble to narrowly escape danger.
So let's talk about that. Let's look back at this. This man ain't gonna mention shit about this, so I'm just gonna mention shit about it for you. Let's look at this battle sequence real quick.
Enemies one by one, or, as usually happened to me,
Now, what happens here is she got hit, right? You have a dodge button in the game, L1. All you have to do is spam that shit and you'll never get hit. And then once you dodge enough moves, because sometimes, depending on the difficulty, enemies will have like a 1-hit combo or a 3-hit combo. You just gotta look out for it. But once they're done performing that, you just spam square and wait for them to move again. This is really rough to judge because I don't like it. And I think part of the reason I don't like it, and I shit you not, is because I was playing Bloodborne right before I played this. I got The Last of Us, and Last of Us 2 being a PS4 game, you have to install it because that's what consoles are doing nowadays. So I had to install it. So while I was installing, I decided to play Bloodborne because that was already on my hard drive. And, you know, I haven't beat the game. I'm stuck on the final boss. But even though I'm stuck on the final boss, I can still get the dude pretty low. But with Bloodborne, counters and dodging are a much more precise affair. With this game, it's not. So, like, let's say in Bloodborne, right? You got, like, maybe, I'm just being super, super lenient here. Let's say you have a 30 frame opportunity to deflect someone's attack, right? Half a second. Well, you know, let's say half a second, because frames in Bloodborne are weird. but you have half a second to do that, right? In this game, it feels like you have a little bit more than half a second to dodge someone's moves and still keep spamming without any penalty. Because in Bloodborne, you have stamina, so you can't dodge forever. You gotta at least, catch your breath. In this game, you know what the fuck is breath? You only have breath when you go in the water, so you could dodge forever and start stabbing people forever. And one-on-one fights, this is a joke. Like, this is an absolute joke. It's not even combat at this point. Um, but in multi-people fights, and yeah, it becomes tricky. Also, I hate how they give Ellie a knife, but then they give Abby shanks. Like, for some reason, Abby has no idea how to get her hands on a knife. What the fuck? Do you think realistic games like these should have a stamina bar like Bloodborne? I don't think any game should have anything in it that doesn't serve the purpose of its game. So I don't think the combat of this game serves the purpose that the game is trying to like give you. What I would have done to make it better is just made the combat less get out of jail free. Well, the dodge button less get out of jail free. That's it. Like not a stamina bar, but like a clearly evident cooldown, because they're really good at letting you know their emotional state with actions. Let Ellie run for like 2 seconds, she'll start panting. If you let Ellie run like full sprint for 5 seconds, she'll she'll start breathing in like fucking Usain Bolt, like. So I think like little things like that could help players know, okay, I can't spam this button. I gotta play smarter. But no, less UI better for this kind of game.
And scramble to narrowly escape danger.
I'm sorry. See that was just like 1 small second, and I could go in on.
Ellie's moves let you improvise to stay one step ahead of some significantly smarter and better coordinated enemies.
The dogs were a necessary addition to the combat of this game. If there were no dogs in this game, I would say the combat was absolutely bad. Not bad as in like irredeemable, but bad as in like they didn't improve much from the previous one, which is what you always want to see in a sequel. But the dogs definitely kept things fresh.
That is, if you can learn to understand the various factions. Seraphites communicate via whistles, the WLF carry deadlier modern weaponry, and the infected... Well, no, they haven't started talking to each other, but their mob mentality is more threatening than ever. New enemies like the Shambler throw noxious spore bombs that cut off potential escape routes or obscure other enemies. The returning stalkers become even scarier than before.
These guys are good. They were only like 1 or 2 of them in the first one, but the stalkers in The Last of Us 2, I believe, are just like standalone the best enemies in the game, because they mix things up. Like by default, infected don't react to light, and these guys don't either, but these guys are more aware of your where you're at. And on top of that, because you're stuck with listen mode, if you try to use listen mode to see them through walls, they don't make a lot of noise, so listen mode doesn't work. So it's pretty interesting concept. And also, it should be stated that the game comes with a model viewer that you can use to unlock like in-game models once you're done, seeing them in the game. The models for the stalkers are fucking amazing, because they're that in-between point in between like a regular infected and a clicker. So their face hasn't completely messed up, but you start seeing the fungus like take root in their face and start splitting their jaw, the upper jaw in half, and it's so gnarly, but it's so well done. Like graphically across the board, I can't talk shit. Like Naughty Dog knocked it out of the park big time with this one.
With smart pack mentality as they hide away from Ellie's listen mode ability.
Yeah, there we
Fights
go.
with this mixture of infected enemy types led to several encounters that rivaled the best survival horror experiences I've had. Speaking of horror, Part 2 has some of the most brutal combat animations I've seen in any game, and it's not played for laughs.
You'll be seeing them over and over and over again, though. Like, Ellie has 2 assassination animations, and you only unlock one of them after a while if you choose to do so. Like, so you're just going to be... That was weird. Like, in the first one, I thought it was weird that they didn't have an array of animations to choose from whenever Joel silently killed someone. So it's weird that they decided not to add an array to this one. I don't know. That's so weird. Like, with all the animations they have, they couldn't add like 3 or 4 more different assassination animations to keep shit fresh. Just a little thing. Relatively little thing. I know it's, animation ain't cheap, but look at what else they've done, man. I feel like the added viewable character models are underappreciated. Yeah, man, I always love 3D art. Like, you should see the shit I follow on ZBrush. I mean, on Instagram.
I'm not squeamish, but I did sometimes find myself choosing to be stealthy just to save myself from watching this again.
Hey, Jonathan Dornbush, I don't know you, but that series of words make you sound like a bitch. Don't say that on the streets. Just be careful. You might lose your gamer card. Just saying. Just saying. I'm looking out for you, man. The streets is watching. You knew what you were going to play when you got in here. Doesn't say. Don't mean you got to enjoy it, but come on, man. Don't be complaining about being squeamish because you're killing people. You chose to kill them.
Playing non-lethally is often possible but rarely easy, especially when they loose the dogs who can track
Fuck
your
them
scent
dogs.
even when you're well hidden from humans. You've got to move or you're dead meat, and sometimes that means running for your life.
I hated this part though. That's because I wasn't aggressive. Also, let's talk about that. So yeah, they give you. I was playing on survival. They give you minimal ammo. Cool, cool. Was full on shit quite a bit because I refuse to shoot people. Because they tell you, hey man, we're not going to give you any ammo, and then you're just like, cool, I'm not going to use any of these guns until I really need them. I don't know if I'm gonna run into like a super infected or some shit. Let me just hoard my shit. So there were quite a few times where like I was hoarding and it worked out okay for me. There were a few other times where I'm just like, I can't hoard. I gotta take these guys out quick, and that also worked for me. But what really sucks about this game, and it's intentional, I get it, but it sucks that like they still suck at shooting. Like, I'm not sure if you can see it in here, but all that waviness and shakiness, that's not the person controlling it. That's the game. They add that so you don't like rely on guns, but then they're like, hey man, make sure every shot counts. So it's like they really discourage you from taking action in frantic situations because you're just gonna waste that bullet and you're not gonna get it back. So this game does push you towards stealth, which is annoying at times. Understandable because you want to be stealthy when you're outnumbered, but I don't know. The gunplay is not fun at all.
The artfully detailed and realized locations Ellie travels through are layered with backstory. It seems as though every
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say I meant to say yeah, I agree with that. My favorite part of the first one was actually this the just seeing how this one story played out through notes inside of this sewer that this one place a bunch of people were camped in at, and that to me is like it sticks out to me. I enjoyed unraveling that, and so they got like a good number of those in here. They like that as well, and there's a lot of backstories in this one, and there's a lot of small sub stories that have like a beginning, a middle, end, and characters that you got to keep track of. But I enjoy the little note telling aspect, storytelling that they have at Last of Us. There was some good writing in that.
Every room tells a tale of people frozen in time, and the density and detail of it astonished me. That's especially true of the Uncharted Lost Legacy style open world area, which rewards exploration with great character moments. It was also a huge relief that I never once had to find.
It reveals more about their characters, but the story goes to a standstill, and there's not really any tension between There's nothing there's nothing but love between Dina and Ellie at this part of the story. So there's nothing like I don't know. I don't want to say tension is necessary for them to be interesting, but they were just agreeing with each other the whole time. I didn't feel like anything was going on between them at that point that I should worry about or pay attention to. Yeah, I was free to explore, but because I was free to explore, I was just basically rubbing myself up against every corner I could in this wall until like I legit just got bored and said, "Let's move forward. I'm done."
And a floating pallet to use as a raft for someone who couldn't swim. Part 2's environmental puzzles never feel as mindless as that, because they rely a lot more on contextual challenges that make smart use of Ellie's journey through skyscrapers, residential neighborhoods, sewers, and much more.
I'll say this: I don't think the navigation has been that much improved, but the rope is a pretty cool addition. It's pretty fun. Just seeing it work and how they used it did surprise me one time. So rope works. This boss fight right here is just stupid. It's like this boss fight is literally you just running and pecking off people as you can. They realize it's boring, so they have I don't know if they're infinite, but it feels like an endless amount of runners coming at you just to make it interesting. Because all this guy, you're basically just bullfighting with this guy for the boss fight. It ain't that great.
And those clever designs are dressed with some of the most beautiful environments I've seen from the PlayStation 4 generation.
Yes, this game has some fucking beautiful environments. Agree.
Fantastic audio design plays a big role as well. It starts with a moving score by returning composer Gustavo Santaolalla and goes all the way down to the little details.
You know, I'm not giving that enough credit. Yeah, the dude's score is amazing. I loved his music in the first one. Second one, I don't know if he had a say on all the sounds. There's some synth heavy movements, not like 80s action, but like I don't know how to describe it. There's some synth heavy moments that kind of forebode, really shit's about to get real. And I do like the bass of those moments. Like it's really like, oh shit, sets you in the mood.
Characteristic for the region, the oppressive thump of rain masks the terrifying noises of the infected that lurk outside. From the slight hum of a silence
But they don't fuck up your sight mode.
to the harrowing boom of
Mini rant.
infected that lurk outside. From the slight hum of a silenced pistol.
Okay, so peep this. The silencer on the end of her fucking pistol. The silencer on the end of Ellie's pistol is a plastic bottle filled with rags. I understand that in order to make stuff reach their wider audience, shortcuts in logic have to take place. I get it. I'm sure there are some shortcuts in logic that I appreciated that I didn't even realize were shortcuts and weren't working the way they're supposed to. But plastic bottles, multiple things. First off, plastic bottles and rags, they don't do that. They won't last, and they know that. Like they add that here. Like these plastic bottles basically have a lifespan of 3 shots. But let's talk about what fucking suppressors do. Suppressors aren't silencers. There's nothing that can really silence your gun. What suppressors do is make it so you can shoot the gun and not go deaf. Because when you shoot a gun in real life, those motherfuckers are loud. So you want to have earplugs or earphones on or something like that. And all the suppressor does is make it so you can shoot that thing without having an earplug on. It's still loud as shit, but your eardrums will be mostly safe. So it took me out of the moment every time I saw her put this fucking plastic bottle on the tip of her gun. It's a plastic bottle. Like imagine you about to do a fucking bank robbery and just like, damn son, I forgot the suppressors. Hey man, I'm about to finish this Mountain Dew and my ass rag is in the car. Want to make a silencer? Your ass rag? Yeah, I'll use that. That water bottle makes Dead Rising 2 combo weapons seem more believable. Scissors, blocks, and glove. Cat claw. But see, that's the thing about managing expectations. Like Dead Rising 2, you're supposed to be ridiculous, and so they could get away with that. This is the game where it takes you a noticeable amount of time to end someone's life silently. They want to set you in that realism, and this shit takes me out of it.
To the harrowing boom of a shotgun. From the guttural
The shotgun does sound nice,
screams of the clickers.
and clickers still sound nice.
Reflection of Ellie as she kills an enemy. Naughty Dog's post-pandemic world sounds alive. The Last of Us Part 2 is a masterpiece worthy of its predecessor. Taking strides forward in nearly every way, Ellie steps into the spotlight and carries the sequel in a manner that feels like the culmination of everything that's made Naughty Dog's blockbuster storytelling so memorable. It delivers a layered, emotionally shattering story on top of stealth and action gameplay that improves the first game's mechanics while integrating a bit more of Uncharted's greater mobility and action. But while Part 2 is a thrilling adventure, it still makes time for a stunning, nuanced exploration of the strength and fragility of the human spirit.
Ooh, this man said a nuanced exploration. Okay, I would agree with him if they didn't try to bat you over the head with some of the themes they were trying to get to you. There was room for nuance, but they removed the nuance when they forced you to play as Abby for a good fucking 10 hours. Which is like, hey man, you guys get it? Even though Abby is kind of a shitty person, she does some good things. She's a decent human being. And I get it. Like, the thing that they're trying to push on everyone is this world is gross. Everyone's conflicted. Sometimes people do bad things for shit reasons, and sometimes they get what they deserve, but they might be justified in their own way as well. I don't know why they went out of their way to dehumanize someone and then let you take control of a fucking psychopath, because that's what Ellie is, and so is Abby for that matter, that murders dozens of people. But I'm gonna keep the spoilers out now. The ending of this game was stupid. Let's see
PlayStation
what
4 has
else.
one of its finest exclusives in one of the generation's best games. For more on The
It's
Last
not.
of Us Part 2, check out our original review of The Last of Us and its Left Behind expansion. And for everything else, stick with IGN.
I don't. Don't. I don't know what this generation's best game would be. I'm leaning heavily towards Bloodborne. If you haven't tried it, I strongly recommend it. That is a fucking video game right there. Like it remembers what it is first and puts all that other shit aside. Not to I do think The Last of Us Part Two is not a complete waste. Like there's some good things here. It gets an A for effort, and absolutely gets an A for effort. It does try to tell some story beats that I'm not used to seeing in stories. It just, I think it was hoping that on that effort alone, it would earn that praise, and I feel like this person is giving them praise based on their effort alone. But I don't know, because everybody has to talk about this, because the gaming journalists have to talk about this in a way that Sony says they have to talk about it. It's gross. Like you're not really hearing what this game's about. You're just hearing some surface level shit. And if you look at it on the surface, I mean, maybe there's nothing wrong with it. Maybe the gameplay is good enough for you. I will violently fight anyone who says this game isn't too long. This game is too fucking long. That we were going to disagree on that one. But yeah, for me this game was not a 10 out of 10. Maybe I don't do number scales like that. If I did, I would say maybe like a 6.5 out of 10. It's still playable. Maybe my expectations have something to do with that, but again, I'm not going to criticize myself like that, because I'm pretty sure Naughty Dog isn't going to criticize themselves for using The Last of Us 2, The Last of Us to sell this many copies of the game. Had it been like a brand new IP, it probably wouldn't have sold so well. Um, so yeah, I'm not going to feel bad for having expectations. But yeah, so that's my review of IGN's review of The Last of Us 2. I give the review a 4 out of 10. You know, it doesn't really tell you anything about the story. They kind of, they uh they do that reach around from the Sony, be like, "Hey man, we give you a good score, aka we're gonna sell more copies of your game for you." So yeah, not a great game and not a great review. Uh, Jonathan Dornbush, I'm not sure why you type these things. I'm sure you have your reasons, but I would also like to know what other games you give a 10 out of 10. Because if I go by IGN's metric, I could be here to the end of time. So I just want to know your metric. But yeah, thanks for watching. I will see y'all later, and I will be uploading this to my YouTube either today or tomorrow. I don't know. We're gaming like crazy today, so I don't want to slow down that connection. But yeah, peace out.